Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's Teresa here, and today I wanted to share with you my process for December Daily 2021. I'm working on days 4 and 5 today. So I'm going to jump in with day 4, and that was Saturday, and we took off on an adventure to Cary, North Carolina, to the Chinese Lantern Festival. And so lots of really inspirational artwork and lights and general excitement. Way more people than I ever wanted to see all in one place, but it was worth it. We had such a great time, and I have a lot of really cool photos from that night, but I chose one photo, the main photo of the dragon. And I found this idea on Pinterest to do something. This is called an agamograph. I think I'm saying it right. And I'll have links to the pin that I found and how I learned how to do it. But basically, you take 2 images, plop them into a canvas, you fold the strips like a fan, and then when you hold it one way, you see one version of the image, and when you hold it the other way, you see the other version of the image. And I thought this was really cool. One of the things that I loved about the festival was that some of the lanterns were animated, and so like the lotus flowers opened up, there were a bunch of lighting displays where the flowers opened up, the butterflies fluttered in place, the peacock spread his feathers and made a beautiful show, and the dragon itself was not animated or active in any way. My husband told me how much it weighs. It's kind of a crazy amount, but what you got from this part of the display was the length of it, and so you had this experience of walking in here. We went around to the right, and so you saw the tail of the dragon first, and you walked down the length of the dragon, and then you found your way to the head, and that was what you saw. And so I wanted to give that feeling of walking along this huge light piece. And I want to just say the artwork on the dragon itself was just amazing. Look at that, the details on his face and on his body. He actually spits out water. You can see it there. It reflects above the surface of the water. He's sitting on the water, so you can see the reflection in the water. It's really amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in Photoshop really quickly how I created my template and how I brought everything in to the Photoshop template and let you see that process. I promise this won't take long because I know that the Photoshop part of it isn't really all that exciting, but this is basically the canvas that I created in Photoshop. It is 8.25 inches high by 16 inches wide, and what I've got is 16 different layers, and each layer is a simple rectangle. I'll show you here on the right side here. It's a simple rectangle, 1 inch by 8.25 inches, and each part of the photo is clipped onto that as a clipping mask. And so what I did was I took my 2 photos. Here's the one kind of the back of his head, and here's the photo from the front looking all the way at the end of the dragon. And so I cropped him down. Each photo is cropped to 8 inches by 8 inches wide by 8.25 inches high. And that way each inch of this photo will fall into each part of the template. I hope I'm explaining this the right way. And you'll skip in between each one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control A and Control C to copy this whole image. Control A and Control C. I'm going to go back into my template, and here on layer 1, this first one over here on the far left, that's the first block where the first part of that photo will go. And so I'm going to just delete that real quick. And you can see now the simple rectangle. And I'm going to Control V. And the photo shows up here. It shows up underneath all of those layers. But I'm going to use the nudge tool, and that is Shift and the left arrow to move that all the way over onto that rectangle. And then we'll create our clipping mask, and we'll have that first block in place. And you're going to do that 8 times for each of the blocks that this image appears on. And then you'll do it a second time using your other image, but they'll go in the every other block that you've filled. So I hope that makes sense. I'll show you real quick. Once you get it in place, just right click on that layer and click Create Clipping Mask, and then you've got that first one in place, and you can add the others. You'll notice that there is a little bit of white space in between each of the blocks, in between each of the layers, so that you can see where to score. And also it shows a little bit cleaner once you have it folded. So I hope that makes sense for you. I will be sending this out to our newsletter subscribers, and if you need a more detailed explanation of how to work with layers and how to work with clipping masks in Photoshop, there are more tutorials available in the playlist, and I'll have that link down below. So, of course, I'll send out my template, minus the photos. I'll send out my template to my newsletter subscribers, and so look for that if you're a subscriber. And of course, I'll put the link to subscribe to our newsletter in the description below, and of course you can find that on our blog as well. So I did print it. I printed it out twice, and the lovely thing about copying someone else is that they make the mistakes for you, so you don't have to make the mistakes. And the first time I printed it out, I printed it on photo paper, and photo paper has a coating on it. It's what makes it shiny or matte or semi-gloss. And in order to fold that coating, you basically have to cut through it. And so I'll show you. It didn't really work out that well. That's version 1 of doing this. But I came back to it, made the image a little bit longer, and edited it a little bit differently. So you may, if you try this, you may have go through a couple of different versions before you get it the way you want it. The measurements of this is 8.25 inches high by 16 inches wide. I thought about doubling the width of the album, but basically I chose that dimension because it would print on 13 by 19 cardstock, and so that's what I ended up using, was just white heavyweight cardstock. to print it on. And then when I printed it, you'll notice in the template that I left a little tiny bit of white space in between each fold so that you know where to fold. And then I just used my metal ruler and a plain bone folder to score those and then folded them. I do have some that are taped up, and I may tape all of them at some point. I noticed one of them was kind of weak there, and that's just from the breakdown of the paper. So that's just how mine is going right now. The biggest challenge, I feel, is how to get it into the album. And so I have one of these adhesive strips from Citrus Twist. They sent it to me, I guess, as a sample in my last order from them. And so these are really cool, actually. It's a little transparency strip, I guess, and it's punched already, and it has a little adhesive, and so it lets you insert things into your album without punching the actual thing. And of course, I'm going to want to do some kind of journaling along with this page, along with the photo, and so I'm going to figure that out. But I mean, you can see it's a little thick in there. So what may end up happening is I may end up going ahead and inserting it like that, and then for long-term storage, folding it in half. But it's a really fun little effect. So I had a good time making it, and we definitely had a good time going. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. You just peel off the strip, and I'm going to turn this over. Make sure I get it on the right end. And then I'm just going to set that down on the line where the adhesive is. Try to get it as centered as possible. There we go. And it looks like I gotta trim it off just a little tiny bit. Let me put a little tiny bit of tape on that. And I am just using regular Scotch tape on these little seams here. In the end, it'll just give it strength. It'll give it a little more strength for the long haul. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop talking and grab some things to do journaling with, to do my number with, and I'll come back and let you see what I put with it to tell the story. Okay, so I decided to go ahead and print out a couple of photos from the event. One of the three of us, it was myself, Alan, and Natalie, our youngest, and then I also printed out a couple of the hybrid elements from Celine's Studio Comfy Cozy Are We collection, and I decided to do a pocket. The little black and white stripe pocket that you see there is from Felicity Jane, and it had a little tag in it. It's like a 4x6 tag. And so after I cut everything out, I'm going to also trim the photos down to 4x6 to the same size as the tag that was already in the pocket. And I'm going to just put those together with some pretty simple ribbon and let that be a little tag album here that creates a little space for me to do some journaling and just add a few little fun embellishments here. And truth be told, this could be the layout for the day without the dragon photo. But I'm a little extra, and I went down the path of making that big dragon photo. So in it goes, right? And it ends up, I think it ends up really cool. And I'm glad that I also had an opportunity here to include some more of the detail photos, because it was, this is an event that I think we'll remember for a long time. And so I think it's a great opportunity to include a larger photo, right? A focal point, if you will, from the night, and also include just some of the other details that were a part of the event. And of course, the most important part, I think, as beautiful as the lanterns and all the lights were, it's important to include a photo of yourselves at that event. That's like the best part. So, all of these things here are just what I'm pulling together to create this little tag thing. And once I had everything cut out, it fit a little snug. It fit a little snug into that pocket. So I'm gonna just clean up my worktop a little bit here and trim these down another like 1/2 inch, so, or an 1/8 inch, so a 1/4 inch on both sides, or an 1/8 inch on each side, which makes it a 1/4 inch total. And that way it slides in and out of that pocket a little bit better. It'll still be snug enough that I think it'll stay put going through the years, but it's easier, a little bit easier to pull out from that pocket. And I'm not going to worry about the backs of these photos. I'm going to leave them just as they are. And I really, the funny thing is, at this point, I've spent so much time on this page. And it's worth it. Again, very worth it. I can't spend this much time on every page this month because the month goes so fast. And what I'll end up doing for sharing purposes is today I'm just sharing day 4, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to share day 5 and 6 with you, to sort of quote unquote get caught up, even though I don't consider it staying caught up or anything like that. But I am feeling so inspired with regards to this project, and so I want to keep momentum going. And anything that you can do while you're creating these days to keep momentum going, that means making quick decisions, and that means don't worry about the backside of things if you don't have to. If an idea comes to you while you're working on it, then incorporate that idea. If it doesn't, keep moving forward. And that's probably my best advice for this whole project, is to make quick decisions and keep moving forward, because the more that you overthink it, the more you're going to get bogged down you'll get bogged down on one small detail that in the whole grand scheme of things won't matter all that much. So I decided to grab a couple of embellishments and needed a ribbon. So I went to my Felicity Jane stash and pulled from that. And so a couple of ribbons here to pull the tags together. You'll notice I used the number 4 card as the number, so that's included in the tag set here. And I also want to add one of these felt stars. So I'm going to punch everything at the top. I considered using those vellum hearts, but I don't think this is the layout for those just yet. Mainly because I was trying to keep it fairly simple. And you'll notice that the first photo is 4x4 photo size. So I adhered that to the original tag that came with the pocket and added a couple of the little comfy cozy or word strips, word art to that, just as the intro to the tag album, I guess. And then I'm going to just stamp a couple of really simple word strips here to the journal card. The journal card was a journal spot from the collection, the digital collection. And then the stamp set, of course, is the Bella stamp set from Felicity Jane. And look at me using my baby wipes and cleaning my stamps off before I put them back in the stamp set. Go me. Sometimes you get your life together. It might take 17 years, but eventually you get it all together. So I'm going to just tie these together really simply with those two ribbons. And that'll make it easy to slide into the pocket. I'm also going to punch the holes in the pocket so that it'll just slip right into the binder rings for that page. And that turned out, this part of it turned out so simple in contrast to the more complicated part of doing the dragon photos, but that's okay. This was so much fun and it stretched me creatively. That's what I love about it. You'll notice in the final photos, I ended up folding it almost in half, and I'll add a clip to keep it together. In the final photos, I went ahead and flipped it the other way so that the majority of the photo would show for the photography and also to hang on to in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here again very soon. Bye-bye.